province of Gauteng, Premier Panyaza Lesufi, the Deputy Minister for Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nomusa Dube-Ncube, the Vice Chancellor of the University of South Africa, Professor Puleng Lenkabula, to the members of the Executive Council of the province of Gauteng who are here, and I recognize, not in any particular order, MEC for Environment, MEC Botha, MEC for Social Development, MEC Ngomora Lehoko, MEC for Agriculture and Economic Development, MEC Ramokgopa, MEC for Finance, MEC Dunga, MEC for Human Settlements, MEC Tasnim Motara. I'm looking for another MEC. Oh, there he is. Sorry. MEC Jacob Mamabolo, the MEC for Cooperative Governments and Traditional Affairs, and DID, Department of Infrastructure Development, is here. The advisors are here. Is there another MEC? Oh, I apologize. Otherwise, I will be a persona non grata. MEC Dlamini, the MEC for E-Government Department. MEC, we recognize you. I was just mentioning the MEC so that you can see the value and the depth and the weight of that which we are launching today, that it is the entire Executive Council, those MECs that you do not see here. Others are outside the country. MEC Mazibuga is out of the country. MEC Maile is also dealing with another matter, but that just gives you a sense of how the provincial government takes this matter. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to launch the Gauteng chapter of the Human Resources Development Council. So this is an inaugural meeting, and Premier, I now can say in my performance agreement, you can say, done, DG. I'm now trying to guide you all how you deal with your performance issues, because HRD is also about performance management. We have delayed in getting this HRD structure to be formed, but we are so grateful that we have among us members who have accepted to serve on the council of Gauteng HRDC, and they will be introduced at the appropriate time. At this point in time, please join me as we welcome to the podium our host, the Vice Chancellor of the University of South Africa, Professor Lenkabula, to welcome us to this beautiful institution, to this beautiful facility. Prof, please, would you come? Let's put our hands together.
Is this one the one looking at the people? Oh, thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning. Sanbonan. Lochan. Lochan. Dumelang. Molweni. Salam alaikum. Khwemore. Absheni. Good morning. Khotong. I thought as South Africans, there's a strong philosophy around what it means to being human and why it's important for us to acknowledge that we are inextricably bound to each other. And in this university, the University of the Land, we prioritize greeting one another, because to live is to be given an opportunity to co-constructing the future with our society using the skills that are necessary for building our country. So I'm going to repeat it because I thought you were not ready. Absheni, Dumelang, Lochani, Molweni, Sanbonani, Khatsong, Assalamu alaikum, Khwemore. Thank you. Thank you very much. I now know that we are here, Premier, for the Gauteng Human Resources Development Council, and we are very happy that you have convened at the University of South Africa, the University of the Land, the Home for Leaders, the university that has given you 3 presidents of the country and many premiers, MECs, as well as leaders of society. Let me take this opportunity to recognize our own premier of this beautiful province, the Gauteng province, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, who is a very strong advocate for education in our country, in the continent, and the world. Can I request a round of applause for him? Dr. Nomusa Dube-Ncube, Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, MEC Visa Ramkhupa, MEC for Agriculture and Rural and Economic Development, MECs from Gauteng Province in attendance, Mr. Edward Musuwe, Director General, Office of the Premier, Dr. China Mashinini, Acting CEO in the Office of the Premier, National Human Resources Development Council members, Provincial Human Resources Development Council members, principals and vice chancellors from various institutions in our country, director generals, heads of departments, management from CETAs and other entities, TVET college principals and SAQA management, Gauteng AIDS Council partners, and ethics and anti-corruption members present, other executive management of the Gauteng province here, other stakeholders present here, members of the staff from the Gauteng province, members of the media representing various media houses, members of the university executive management, especially the registrar of the university, Professor Muluko Sputa, and Dr. Chivasi, responsible for teaching and learning, distinguished members of the audience and those participating virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure and honor that the University of South Africa and its executive management, as well as epistemic communities, welcome you to this distinguished university for the historic official launch of the Gauteng Human Resources Development Council. Today marks a significant milestone in our collective commitment to advancing human development and shaping a skilled, innovative, and inclusive future for the people of Gauteng, of South Africa, and of the globe. The reason why Gauteng is not just a national key point is precisely because the world converges in Gauteng through the different critical sectors, whether in the digital systems, science innovation ecosystem, in people, in business, in social justice. This is the province where the multiplicities of societies converge in reimagining the country, the continent, as well as the future of South Africa in the world. Colleagues, the late former President Nelson Mandela reminded us that education is the great engine of personal development. It is through education that a daughter of a person can become a doctor, that the son of a mine worker can become the head of the mine, that a child of a farm worker can become the president of a great nation. It is what we make out of what we have, not what we are given, that separates one person from another. While education remains the foundation of human development, lasting transformation is realized when knowledge is generated through rigorous research, translated into innovative solutions, and applied in partnerships with communities to addressing the most pressing challenges facing society. It is through this dynamic ecosystem of education, innovation, research, community engagement, engaged scholarship, but also a partnership of institutions of learning, such as universities, TVET colleges, and other environments, partnering with the provincial, but also the national government. I'm of the view that the launch of the Gauteng GHRDC represents a decisive investment in the vision of the province. It reflects our collective commitment in harnessing evidence-based, informed decision-making, cultivating innovation, and strengthening collaboration among government, higher education institutions, industry, organized labor, civil society, but also with the imagination of the future. Together, these partnerships will ensure that the province develops a capable, future-ready, and globally competitive workforce whose skills are responsive to the demands of the fourth or fifth or conversion technologies while remaining firmly grounded in the developmental needs and aspirations of our society. Even more important, in the world and the geopolitical shifts, in the digital shifts, in the competition amongst the hegemony of leadership of the world, the skills become an important partner for any nation or any society to reclaiming and shaping its futures, prosperous, just, and inclusive futures for all. While geography, natural resources, political and economic history or history have long shaped regional development and have long sought to address the disparities, there have been heightened attention recently on the idea that the macroeconomic shocks that COVID-19 would have elicited for many societies have enhanced or created a challenge in the cost of living, created a crisis, sharp energy prices and hikes, geopolitical tensions, as well as disruptions in international trade. When the World Health Organization declared coronavirus in 2019 a public health emergency of international concern, we learned as universities, but also as the province, that if we do not invest in the critical skills, all society are at risk. And therefore, we learned through the regrettable losses that we experienced during this time that the partnership between the state, universities, society is not just fundamental, but it's a need. Recently, the world has witnessed a surging geopolitical conflict, whether in Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, US-Israel, Iran conflict, as well as the conflict in DRC, including South Sudan and Ethiopia, among others. These have displaced communities, wiped out key infrastructures in many countries involved, and some of these have created huge setbacks in the developments of affected communities. We have seen many of these people come to the city, come to the province, and come to South Africa. And therefore, the question is, how do we create a socially just economic system that is attentive? This gathering also happens at an opportune moment where the unveiling of the reconceptualized Human Resources Development Strategy of South Africa, 2025 to 2035, along with the implementation plan of the Master Skills Plan for South Africa, has been launched. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we know that South Africa endured painful era of a severe skills mismatch, which occasioned by discriminatory policies that legitimized access restrictions in certain professions and in certain educational institutions during apartheid era. In the democratic era, this province, this government, as well as the state, have invested in policies, in financing systems, in mechanisms that have sought to ensure that we train, reskill, upskill, and create the new skill sets that are necessary for our society. And therefore, colleagues, as part of these reforms, South Africa's first human resources development strategy was launched in 2001. At the national level, the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa is the chairperson of the HRD Council. As the current Honorable Deputy Minister, Deputy President, Mr. Paul Mashatile alluded in 2025, at the heart of the HRDSA is our shared vision for South Africa to develop educated, skilled, and capable individuals who contribute positively to their communities. Our own minister and the deputy minister have also emphasized the critical interface between basic education, the TVET system, as well as the university system, including the science councils. This ecosystem is to enable the enhancement of the critical skills and resourcing of our societies. The National Treasury Cities Economic Outlook report also makes a necessity for the imperative of improving the critical skill sets that are necessary for our society. For us also, the Premier, we are quite appreciative, therefore, that you have not only demonstrated in your leadership of the province, but in how you have partnered with the Gauteng universities, empowering them with the critical infrastructures or systems that enable access and success to be the pivot for the enhancements of critical skill sets. At the University of South Africa, we have recognized, in the words of Reginald Tambo, that a nation that does not take care of its youth does not deserve its future. And therefore, in the skill sets development, but also upskilling, we have recognized the youthful dividend as an imperative pathway that enables these skill sets to be enhanced. And finally, colleagues, you have come to the right university. I was telling my colleagues from the University of Johannesburg that we are very appreciative, Premier, and you should be proud as the Premier of this province that the first two universities that are contributing over 10% to the research and innovation system are located in this province. University of Johannesburg is #1 in the composite research for the country, producing 13% of the research and innovation to the ecosystem. University of South Africa, the home of leaders, is #1 in the production of doctoral degrees, but #2 in the composite research. And the Deputy Minister is here to attest that. We do so because we understand, as this province, as the country, we have to contribute in the advancements of the critical skill sets, knowledge, innovation, and the advancement of society that are in concert and consonance with the vision of the country as well as the HRD. We are appreciative as well that the University of South Africa Deputy Minister as well as Premier was the only university in the recent meeting of the United Nations that represented the universities all over the world on the Sustainable Development Goals, because it has been recognized that in this province, the universities are committed to the National Development Plan, the Africa we want, as well as the transformation of the Sustainable Development Plan. Welcome to UNISA, the home of Mandela, Mbeki, Ramaphosa. Welcome to UNISA, the home of Jill Marcus, the home of Tokodidiza, and many leaders that have been formed in this university. Enjoy yourself, feel free, and know that registration has just been extended, and therefore if you still need to pursue your diploma your degree, your master's, your doctoral degree, the registrar is here. Welcome.
Let us see those who want to have registration. Registration is open at UNISA. Please come on now. Do I have any candidates for honors degrees at UNISA? Please let me see. Who are you? Any for masters? There we go. VC, I am now. I'm a marketing manager for UNISA. Thank you so very much, VC. We stand on hallowed grounds by the list of leaders that you mentioned to have come out of this university. And I think we can only be proud that we are actually today launching the Gauteng's Human Resource Development Council at UNISA, and therefore bringing and sitting on the doorstep of giants that have come through this institution. VC, you mentioned something profound to say that the Deputy President said the HRDSA is a shared vision. But let me also say, you will note that from the HRDSA, the Gauteng province has now also localized the HRDSA into a Gauteng chapter. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, at your tables, you will see a very beautiful book written GMSP3. That is an acronym for Gauteng Master Skills Plan 3. And thank you very much. So you will note that this is a localized chapter of the national strategy. What we seek to do in here is to give a pathway through which we will be able to improve our economic contributions or contributions to the GDP. As you know, we are the largest GDP contributor in the country at about 34–35%. It is through this, what we seek to achieve in here, that we will set ourselves to a larger trajectory. With that, let me thank the Vice Chancellor. I must apologize on behalf of the Vice Chancellor. At a particular moment in time, she will take leave because she's going to attend to another meeting representing this, the institutions of our country. And when she leaves, please do know that she does that having spoken both to the Premier and the Deputy Minister about her absence. Again, can we give a round of applause to our Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Lenkabula. We now have, in the Gauteng province, how are we going to actualize and make sure that this that we are launching today does not just become another talk shop? We have in the Gauteng province what we call the Gauteng City Region Academy. Its role is to make sure that it helps the province to drive skills development programs. It is my honor and privilege at this point to call on the Deputy Director General responsible for the GCRA, the Gauteng City Region Academy, Mr. Dr. China Mashini. Sorry, because I don't have one, I am not jealous of you. I will come there. I'm registering tomorrow at UNISA, and soon I will be a doctor. Otherwise, if I fail, I will ask for a conferment of an honorary one by doing that fantastic job here. So think about that, VC. It comes in many ways. I'm going to call on the acting CEO of the Gauteng City Region Academy, Dr. China Machinini, to come and tell us about the role of the HRDC. Dr. China, where are you?
Okay, I'm ready. Thank you very much, Program Director, Director General Edward Musuwe, Honorable Premier of the Gauteng Provincial Government, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, Lesufi. Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nomusa, Dube-Ncube. The Director General of the Gauteng Provincial Government, Mr. Edward Musue. Professor Puleng Lenkabule, Vice Chancellor of the University of the Land, University of South Africa. MECs of the Gauteng Provincial Government present today, HODs of the Gauteng Provincial Government present today, CEOs of sector education and training authorities, principal of Gauteng-based TVET colleges, distinguished members of the Provincial Human Resource Development Council, colleagues from government, organized labor, organized business, and the academia. Good morning and welcome to the launch of the Gauteng GHRDC. It is my privilege indeed to open this inaugural sitting by presenting the architecture of empowerment, the framework underpinning the launch of the Provincial Human Resource Development Council for the 2026 to 2029 term of this administration. This council does not begin its work in a vacuum. It is Gauteng Provincial Government's direct response to a national imperative for coordinated human capital development. The establishment of this council under the leadership of the Gauteng Premier demonstrates the seriousness with which this administration treats the skills development and employment crisis facing this province. Over the next few slides, Premier, I will present the national context that necessitates this structure, the mandate the Council carries, the architecture that will give it its relevance and importance, and finally, the charge the Council has been entrusted with. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, go on. Okay, now I finally got it right. Honorable Premier and Council members, this presentation moves through 11 sections. From the national imperative driving this work, through the 4 strategic pillars of the human resource development strategy of South Africa, the dual engine relationship between national and provincial structures, Council's formal terms of reference and the composition of Council, and the full governance architecture from strategy to execution, the role of the TWGs, the technical working groups, 2 execution arms of the PSDF, and the steering committee, and finally, the roles of the secretariat that anchors it all. South Africa's developmental trajectory remains hindered by the triple challenge of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. These are just not abstract statistics. They are lived realities in every township, in every informal settlement, and in every township across our economy in Gauteng. And in response, the national government has reconceptualized the Human Resource Development Strategy of South Africa, covering the 2025 to 2035 term. Alongside this is the Master Skills Plan, running from 2025 to 2030. Together, these form the unified blueprint, the national imperative of one country, one strategy, and one plan to cultivate an educated and capable workforce for the Gauteng province. The principle we impress upon Council is that investing in human capital is not a soft social spend, but it is paramount to economic growth, social cohesion, and sustainable development. The national strategy rests on 4 pillars, and these pillars recur throughout this presentation as the yardstick against which our provincial work is measured. The first pillar is improving early learning and schooling outcomes, strengthening foundational literacy and systemic efficiency at the base of the education pipeline. The second one is improving employability of the youth with specific and deliberate targeting of those not in employment, not in education, and not in training, our need population, which remains one of Gauteng's most socio-economic concerns. The third one is enhancing the responsiveness of the PSET, the post-school education and training system, ensuring that the PSET aligns with actual labor market demands rather than producing graduates the economy cannot absorb. The fourth is improving governance, leadership, and management, building a capable, ethical, and developmental state, because no strategy survives poor implementation. Honorable Premier, every structure this Council establishes is traceable back to one or more of these 4 pillars. It is important, therefore, that we understand that we operate within a dual system, a dual engine system, the national strategy paired with the provincial execution. At national level, the National HRDC is chaired by the Deputy President of the country. Its mandate is to formulate macroeconomic HRD policy and the 10-year HRD strategy, and its focus is on system-wide blockages, national legislative alignment, and global benchmarking. At a provincial level, however, and this is where this council that we are launching today sits, the provincial HRDC is chaired by Honorable Premier of the Gauteng province, Premier Panyaza Lesufi. The primary focus is driving local economic priorities through the Gauteng Master Skills Plan 3, alongside immediate youth empowerment, strengthening local provider capacity, and integration with the district delivery development model. This is a deliberate design. National government sets the direction. The provincial government localizes, accelerates, and delivers to the people of Gauteng. Let me now turn to the provincial mandate of the HRDC. There we go. And this is the formal terms of reference that define what Council is empowered to do and expected to do. First is to advise and advocate. So the HRD Council will advise the Provincial Executive Council on HRD policy and lead advocacy for the Gauteng Master Skills Plan. The second is to monitor and oversee. So Council will oversee implementation monitoring and evaluation of every aspect of the HRD strategy carried out by project owners across provincial departments and entities. The third is to mobilize and partner. Council exists to mobilize senior leadership across business, labor, and civil society to co-invest in education and targeted training, demonstrating that this is not a government-only endeavor, but a joint collaboration. The fourth is to identify and unblock. Council must identify critical blockages in the province and recommend systemic solutions to the partners best placed to implement them. Council members, the strength of this body lies in who sits around the table. And this is best presented through a node matrix, the convergence of provincial leadership that makes up this council. So the first node that we see on the slide is the government node, which is made up of MECs, heads of departments, and representatives from the National Department of Employment and Labor, as well as the Department of Higher Education and Training. The primary role is to bring executive and administrative authority into council and to assume responsibility and accountability for turning council resolutions into departmental action items. The second one is the social partner nodes, constituted by captains of organized business, leadership of organized labor, and civil society represented through network structures. The social partner nodes' primary role is to represent the interest and resources of the economy and society outside government. This function, as per both the terms of reference and the national guidelines, is to invest in education and training within their own areas of competency and to take responsibility for HRD priorities so that the strategy isn't something government does to the economy, but it is something that government does with the economy. This node is also where legitimacy and buy-in for the strategy emanates from. The third one, and the last one, is education and expertise nodes, constituted by provincially located higher institutions of learning, TVET colleges, and CETAs. Their primary role is the supply of technical and subject matter expertise and present the actual production system for skills. This node is mostly directed to Pillar 3 of the National Human Resource Development Strategy. Honorable Premier, this is deliberately not a government committee. It is a genuine social compact. So putting it all together, it means the Human Resource Development Council frames all three nodes as converging into one body known as the HRD Council, a multi-sectoral advisory body requiring senior level and subject matter experts whose collective council level function is to advise and advocate, is to monitor and oversee, is to mobilize and partner, identify and unblock. So the three nodes are not three separate mandates. They are three constituencies whose combination is what makes that four-part mandate possible. It therefore means government supplies the delivery authority, social partners supply investment and legitimacy, And the education and expertise supplies the technical platform for what the Gauteng economy needs. Turning to the governance structures of the architecture. At the apex sits the Provincial HRD Council, this plenary, whose function is ultimate oversight and strategic direction, chaired by the Premier of the province, Honorable Panyaza Lesufi. Beneath it sits the technical working groups, the TWGs, and the Provincial Skills Development Forum, the PSDF, whose function is technical consensus and strategic advisory support to Council. The Provincial HRD Steering Committee drives direct implementation across all Gauteng government, provincial departments. This is where policy decisions become budgeted and delivered programs. Supporting this architecture is the Secretariat housed within the Gauteng City Region Academy, providing strategic, administrative, and technical coordination across every structure of Council. This four-tier architecture, Premier, presents an architecture with no gaps between decision-making and delivery. As I come to the technical working groups, the expert engine, these are multidisciplinary bodies established to provide specialized advice, technical input, and evidence-based recommendation on the complex HRD issues that this council will confront. The work of these groups follows 3 steps analyzed in the slide, which is to analyze information, make proposals, and advise council accordingly. Similarly, the execution arm of the PSDF and the steering committee serves as the primary advisory body on skills matter. It facilitates the identification of scarce and critical skills in the provincial economy and identifies and refers skills development blockages to this council for resolution. The Provincial Steering Committee is the implementation arm comprising all GPG departments alongside the DPSA and the National School of Governance. It coordinates targeted intervention and massifies state interventions at scale and critically directs delivery for the 7th administration's mandate for youth job creation and building the capacity of the state. As I conclude, Program Director, every effective council needs a strong backbone, and that role falls within the Secretariat of the HRD. The Secretariat is headed by the GCRA and performs 4 critical functions as listed on the slide before us. 1 is coordination, which is facilitating implementation of overall council mandate across all structures. 2 is knowledge management, serving as custodians of all council and technical working group records, frameworks, and master plans. And 3 is strategic support, with 4 being financial oversight for the operations and functions of the HRDC. As I conclude, council members, structures and mandates mean little without clear measure of success. This slide sets out the measurement yardstick for council in direct alignment with the Gauteng Master Skills Plan 3. The first area of focus is youth empowerment, the aggressive recruitment and onboarding of youth into vocational and transversal learning programs with specific targeting of our need population. The second is state capacity, implementing transversal skills development and governance frameworks across the entire public sector in Gauteng. And the last one is the ecosystem symbiosis, building a coherent, aligned ecosystem for training and development that meets the specific demands of the economy. Honorable Premier and Council members, I'm deeply grateful for the wisdom and standing of this Council. It is on the strength of this Council's collective experience that this endeavor will succeed. As we close, allow me to set what follows from today. The Premier has approved and signed the official terms of reference for the Human Resource Development Council of Gauteng, and this will be distributed to all council members present today. A proposed meeting schedule for the council's term of office will be compiled and circulated for your consideration. Ahead of the first council sitting, we shall convene an induction session to ensure that council members are fully equipped to participate, grounded on the terms of reference, the national guideline, and the Master Skills Plan 3. Thank you once again for the opportunity to present this to yourselves. Thank you very much, Premier. Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Dr. Mashinini. I realize doctors speak with clarity. He had to make sure that every word we hear and every syllable. There's something I picked up in the presentation, just in case somebody is here and is a student of governance, and you might say Premier Lesufi has appointed 14 MECs contrary to the Constitution. No. So there are 14 departments in a government, in the provincial government sphere. But the premier of a province by the Constitution is only allowed to appoint 10. So while you see 14 MECs, it is 14 departments that have got to be overseen by 10 MECs. I thought somebody might just pick this up and say these people in Gauteng are doing their own constitution. There's no constitution, one country, one province, 9 provinces, we are all led. At this point in time, I had spoken about the Master Skills Plan of the province, GSMP 3. But GSMP 3 of the province does not go alone. In this report, you have just heard that what we are fighting against is the high levels of unemployment. To get young people employed is to give them skills. To give them skills, they must get absorbed into jobs. Who best to absorb them than industry? But for industry to absorb them, we must also be guiding which sectors of the economy are going to be absorbing them. It is my pleasure to welcome to the podium the MEC responsible for the Department of Economic Development, but equally agriculture and rural development, MEC Vuyiswa Ramokopa, who's going to tell us about the Gauteng Economic Growth and Development Plan. Ladies and gentlemen, MEC Ramokopa.
Thank you for that warm and enthusiastic welcome, DG, Program Director. Let me begin by recognizing the Honorable Premier of Gauteng, Premier Panyaza Lesufi, the Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nomusa Dube-Ncube, the Vice Chancellor of UNISA, Professor Lenkabula, and all the MECs present today, all senior officials of the Gauteng province and municipalities present, and of course the members of the Gauteng Provincial Human Resources Development Council, and all dignitaries present today, I greet you all. I have been given a fairly simple task and only 15 minutes to share with you our vision for how we intend to grow the Gauteng economy. This is no small feat, ladies and gentlemen. And as Dr. Mashinini alluded to, we are faced with some serious challenges pertaining to growth, pertaining to unemployment, and of course, various other challenges that emanate from the socioeconomic conditions. So our key focus as the province, and I want to start with the problem statement. What are we trying to solve in developing the Gauteng City Region Economic Growth and Development Plan? The problem statement pertains to the GDP or declining GDP growth rate that we have all seen and been aware of. It also pertains to the staggering unemployment levels that are sitting now at 1/3 of our population, which is unemployed, and far more of our young people, nearing the 60% mark. And this plan essentially responds by presenting a single unified vision for the province, which is underpinned by aggressive investment facilitation, as well as a investment into the skills base. And not just investment into the skills base through generic training, but really what we call fit-for-purpose training that is aligned to our sectoral growth plans. Could the technical team kindly put the presentation up, and then I'll speak to that. But essentially, the establishment of the Human Resources Development Council gives us an opportunity to connect two conversations that would otherwise be happening in different quarters. It allows us to answer the question of what kind of economy are we building? And secondly, what kind of people and skills are required to power that economy? So we understand, as the Gauteng Department of Economic Development, that the pursuit of growth is not merely to pursue GDP growth for the sake of it, to see the graph going up. That is wonderful, but ultimately growth must create employment. It must reduce poverty. It must expand ownership. It must be inclusive in nature and extend to the far-reaching and often marginalized communities in our province. And most importantly, it must be sustained and sustainable over the long term. So Gauteng remains the industrial and commercial heartland of South Africa. But as we know, the economy is also changing and remains in a state of flux. The Gauteng economy was built around the mining sector. Mining, of course, then supported engineering, manufacturing, finance, chemicals, transportation, and the construction sector. So we have a highly diversified economy. But as the structure of the economy and as certain industries, legacy industries, have slowed down, we have also not been able to respond effectively to building new productive sectors and new centers of excellence to be able to power that growth. So our plan is very intentional about driving industrialization, but also in supporting high labor absorbing industries. And reindustrialization for us is not simply about rebuilding industries and the economy of old. We are not trying to recover yesterday. We are trying to use our existing industrial capabilities to compete in the economy that is now emerging. So this plan is anchored by the existing medium-term development plan, which sets out these three key objectives. The first priority is, of course, inclusive economic growth and job creation. The second, improved living conditions and enhanced growth and well-being. And the third, of course, is a capable and ethical state. Now, what is also critical about the plan is that it is built on the 10 pillars. Yeah, I'm seeing everybody's heads doing this. Never fear, just listen to my voice. The plan is anchored on 10 pillars, which you see visually represented before you. And if I can just run through them quickly, it's about reindustrialization and sector development, trade and investment promotion, spatial transformation, economic and social infrastructure, sustainable economic development, entrepreneurship and small business development and support, skills of the future and workforce development, building the capacity of the state, safety and security, and of course, building stronger corridors of regional economic integration. You will also see that underpinning the 10 pillars are innovation and digital transformation, recognizing the nature of the emerging industries and the economy that we are trying to build and the economies of the future. Also, speaking to the inclusive nature of this, that's what GHRDC means. It speaks to ensuring that all of these pillars are inclusive by nature. Township procurement and township development is key and is also core to the spatial transformation and integration. And of course, Prof. Lenkabula has left, but I'm sure others in the academic space will agree that none of this happens if we don't have access to the best research and development and data. So this is where it gets really exciting. We've identified through the GCR Economic Growth and Development Plan, and you'll remember I asked, what kind of economy are we trying to build? Now before you see a representation of the 12 key sectors that underpin and anchor the GCR Economic Growth and Development Plan. And these are sectors that have been identified as sectors with high growth potential, sectors that have a potential to drive employment in the province, but also sectors that have quite far-reaching multiplier effects and ones in which we have existing capabilities, but also ability to develop in those areas. And this speaks to the automotive, electrical vehicle and aerospace, the agriculture and agro-processing space, transport and logistics, the diverse energy mix and the energy sector, ICT and the digital economy, global business services, tourism and hospitality, cultural and creative industries, construction and infrastructure, clothing, textiles, leather and footwear, pharmaceuticals and the healthcare sector, as well as the cannabis industrialization. Now, these sectors were chosen, as I said, not simply because they are trending, but because they offer opportunities at different levels of skills and different parts of the province. And they are able to expand Gauteng's industrial and productive base, as well as our export capabilities. The objective is simple, ladies and gentlemen. Gauteng must become a province that designs, makes, grows, processes, and exports. One province, different economic strengths. And in saying that, we recognize that Gauteng is not uniform in how its capabilities are distributed. So the plan also inherently takes cognizance of the regional focus and regional strengths across the 5 key corridors and regions. So each corridor, as identified here, has also been targeted for specific key industries. In the northern corridor of Tshwane, the plan focuses on automotive manufacturing, innovation and research, business process outsourcing, agriculture, defense, and aerospace. In the central corridor of Johannesburg, the strengths lie in finance, ICT, retail, business services, business tourism, and pharmaceuticals. In the Eastern Corridor, the Ekurhuleni remains central to advanced manufacturing, food and beverages, aerospace logistics, machinery, and capital equipment. The West Rand has opportunities in mining and mineral beneficiation, agriculture and agro-processing, tourism, retail, and renewable energy. And lastly, the Southern Corridor of Sedibeng is where we see opportunities in tourism, agriculture, agro-processing, and logistics. And to further accelerate and deepen this geographic focus, we are also accelerating our development and partnership with national government and municipalities towards the establishment and growth of the special economic zones. Many of you would already be familiar with the Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone. We also currently operate the OR Tambo Special Economic Zone, which is in the Eastern Corridor. We are also in the advanced stages of the Vaal Special Economic Zone, and that will be the next one that will be coming online. And we have already secured quite substantial investments towards projects that will anchor that special economic zone, and so on and so forth. So our intention is essentially, all going well, to actually have special economic zones in all of these 5 corridors, and to be able to then create the multiplier effect and the aggregation effect that allows us to build economies of scale in our key industries and in our areas of strength. But colleagues, as we know, plans are sometimes not even worth the paper they are written on if they are not tied to a clear and impact-driven and measurable execution plan. And that's why a core focus of this plan has been around execution and answering the question of how does this plan get executed. Now, one of the key, and you'll see here, these are the principles that we've identified as core to ensuring successful execution and implementation. One is, of course, clear deliverables and timelines, catalytic actions, which are defined under each of the pillars, institutionalization. So this plan should not exist only in a document, but should be, it should exist and should be implemented in the relevant institutions. Sustainable funding is also key to the plan. Intergovernmental and multi-stakeholder relations. As a province, of course, we house a number of municipalities and districts, and so it is key to ensure the sustainability and the implementation that we work closely with the municipalities in the implementation thereof, and of course, evidence-based monitoring. I will skip over the details, and I think that the plan is obviously available to anyone who wishes to engage with it further. But I want to talk a bit more about the action labs, because the action labs afford us an opportunity similar to what was described by Dr. Mashinini in his description of the multi-sectoral advisory body. The action labs are an opportunity to co-create with other sectors, private sector, civil society, as well as academia. And how the action labs have been structured is to mirror the 12 key sectors, but to ensure that within each action lab, we have representation from leaders from these different sectors of society. And that enables us to, as we develop and implement on the sectoral growth plans, to ensure that we are doing so with the partnership, the guidance, and the endorsement of other social partners who are critical to the implementation. So partnership, public-private partnership, is core to how we understand the implementation and the success, path to success of the GCR Economic Growth and Development Plan. And we have already established the action labs and are in the process now of executing some of the terms of reference and the plans that the initial Action Lab members have put together. So there is already work that has started to happen at a sectoral level, but the door is not closed. We continue to invite business leaders, thought leaders, and otherwise from different sectors to play a part and participate within the action labs. As I mentioned, intergovernmental and multi-stakeholder relations are key to how we then are also envisioning the implementation of the GCR Economic Growth and Development Plan. And before you, we've listed some of the relevant social partners that become crucial in our ability to implement. And we've seen successes of this already with the likes of the Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone, which is actually a joint initiative of the national, provincial, and local municipalities with a shared governance structure. It has enabled us to fast-track decision-making, cut the proverbial red tape, and ensure that as government and as business, we are speaking with one unified message. I've touched, ladies and gentlemen, on the monitoring and evaluation pillar, and I think just for the sake of transparency, these are the types of metrics that we have to become completely obsessive about. GDP growth rate, job creation, the FDI pipeline and the value of the investments that we are attracting, export growth value, and of course, youth unemployment, which we would want to see declining. That, of course, must also tie and be informed by SMME spend, as well as SMME participation in our broader value chain and procurement. And we are also underpinning that, as mentioned, by a capable and ethical state. So ensuring that ourselves, as the key implementers of this plan, are also performing as required and at the requisite level. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I wish I should have started actually here, but let me conclude by saying the GCR Economic Growth and Development Plan is an extremely ambitious plan. But ambitious does not mean unrealistic. It just means we have to get very focused and treat this mission with the urgency that it deserves. So we are targeting, in the medium term, a growth rate of between 3 and 5%. Now, 3%, of course, being the low road, 5% being the high road. We have done extensive economic modeling with the assistance of our partners in the academic sector, that if we can coordinate activities and implement within the key sectors that we've identified, this type of growth rate would indeed be achievable. That would enable us, of course, to see a reduction of the unemployment rate, and our objective is to reach a reduction of, well, to get to a between 20 and 25% unemployment rate from our current 32%. It's a big jump, but again, the focus must be on sectors that are able to achieve that type of labor absorption. And under all of this, the quantum that we are working towards. So when we talk about unemployment of 20 to 25%, what actually we are saying is that we have to create between 500 and 700,000 jobs in the medium term. And that needs to cut across various industries. It is not the job of public sector alone to create those jobs. However, we must play the role of ensuring that we can coordinate effectively and create platforms such as this to enable that growth. In conclusion, DG in his opening made the point that the objective, when all is said and done, is to ensure that people are employed. But I would say it's a bit of a chicken and egg, DG, because to build a sustainable, growing economy that is long-term and forward-looking in nature requires us to make the necessary investments into the skills base now. And this is why it is so urgent for us to launch this forum, this council, and ensure that we are able, through collaboration with the different partners, to drive a single, unified plan that is cradle to grave. We need every school leaver, whether they are leaving at a grade 9 level with artisanal skills, leaving at a matric level and maybe going into the TVET system or some other practical training system, or whether they are running the course all the way to doctoral level. There has to be a credible path to employment and participation in the economy. And to do that, we need to work very closely with those who are thinking about the path of economic growth that we'll take. So we are highly committed to that path, Premier, and we are confident that if we can make the investments now, these objectives can surely be met. I thank you, colleagues.
Ladies and gentlemen, the MEC for Economic Development in the province of Gauteng, MEC Voyiswa Ramokgopa, she puts even a Latin term on the report, ceteris paribus. And I have to ask myself, so even economists want to study a bit of Latin, and all that it says is that all things equal, we will get there. Now here's the catch. What may not have been spoken to, and I think we are bringing all parts together, members of council, the economic plan and what will now be presented, taken together. One becomes a plan, the other becomes a delivery mechanism through which the plan can realize. And that is why it gives me a singular honor and pleasure that at this point I invite Dr. Amuzweni Ngoma, who, now where is Amu? Now this one is, so I can talk, the problem is with Amu, she gets too absorbed. Amu, I know her. So the research work that has gone into the Master Skills Plan 3 has been done by some of her greatest intellectual property. We did not outsource the book, Premier. We wrote it internally by bringing all the different intellectual capacity. Dr. Amuzweni was the lead writer in that particular regard, and I invite her to come and talk to us about the Master Skills Plan 3. You are the only one that I will put a time clock on because she might go on forever on these skills. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Dr. Amuzweni.
Good morning. Thank you, DG Musue. Good morning, Premier. Good morning to the DG again, HODs, MECs, let me not forget MECs, MEC Botha, good morning. To all the GCRA and OOP colleagues, I say good morning to you. I'm going to try to be fast. I'm going to try. But I'm a bit excited, Premier. You know, I must be perfectly honest. We've been working in the sector of youth development, skills development, economic empowerment for over 20 years. I think 25 years I've been in this sector. And this Gauteng Master Skills Plan today is singularly a huge promise. It's a promise to adults and young people in Gauteng, where we are going to socialize and democratize skills development and knowledge. So I've been told that I have to do my own scrolling. So I want to do this thing where MEC Ramokgopa said she should have started at the end. And so I'm going to try and scroll right to the end of this presentation because I want to tell you a little story about the image that you see there. This is an outline of Gauteng, and inside it is a gold nugget. It is reported that that gold nugget is the largest gold nugget that has ever been discovered in the Gauteng Witwatersrand Basin. Right? It was about 6.8 kilograms, and it was discovered in Pilgrim's Rest. That discovery, I think, launched the social formation of Gauteng. When MEC Visa speaks about mining being a capability that we have, she is actually quite correct. So that animates the Gauteng Master Skills Plan. So to start at the beginning with the problem statement, I think the problem statement is quite clear for us, because what we've noticed is that population growth has actually increased faster than the expansion and provision of post-school education and training. That means that we have a higher number of young people that are applying for the first time to university. And our South African universities have not been able to absorb that demand because of population growth. Similarly, that problem statement is sitting at the front steps of the Gauteng City Region economy, because it is Gauteng's magnetism that draws people that are looking for opportunities, and they come here. If it is that our higher education system and institutions are not able to absorb the young people who are applying to it for the first time, then we're going to result and have like a resultant not in education, employment, and training. The other side for the middle classes is that parents will have to actually access private school education, and I think we've also seen it in Gauteng. We've seen it in Johannesburg, we've seen it in Sandton. Grayston Drive has Emirates, and I'm not advertising for them, but that chock-a-block shows you the high demand that we have for higher education and training. So it is with that problem statement that we have crafted the Gauteng Master Skills Plan. I won't belabor the point about putting the Master Skills Plan in context, because Dr. Mashinini has already done that, but DG has already said that there are 2 twin plans that are in operation within the Gauteng provincial government, that the Gauteng City Region economy and society is responsible for stewarding. It is the GCR Economic Development and Growth Plan, coupled and twinned with the Gauteng Master Skills Plan. Colleagues, this is not an anomaly. It is something that we have generally done in terms of twinning skills plans with economic plans. It was done with ASGISA in 2006, and it was done with GIPSA. This is where the HRDC draws its genesis. This is where the HRDC draws its particular history. So what animates our problem statement in Gauteng? We are facing what we call a G13 polycrisis. A G13 polycrisis, which is characterized by 3 statements. It's characterized by the need for social and economic infrastructure, water, energy, roads, logistics, transport, and so forth. It is also characterized by another factor, which is the social factor. When we're talking about skills, the element of human capital development, of human resources, has to come in, and it has to actually anchor our debate, our discourse, and how we plan. So what we're seeing in Gauteng is that you have a huge urban sprawl that's happening. People are putting up homes because they've come looking for opportunities. You also have a situation of social development issues like GBV, femicide, lawlessness, and increased levels of vandalism of our economic infrastructure. That is the G13 polycrisis. So when we drafted the Gauteng Master Skills Plan, we were particularly animated by solving that particular problem. When DG speaks about the fact that the GMSP is twinned with the Economic Development Plan, he is essentially saying that any training that we derive for young people and adults in Gauteng must be demand-led. It must be industry-led. It must be the skills that we provide must be the skills that actually stabilize the social formation and also stabilize the economic formation. The skills that we also train for must be the skills that will create an economy of the future, right? An economy that we have not necessarily seen. What we do today and what we train in must enable Gautengers to actually produce new products and services that we are yet to imagine. This is why we have what we call the Gauteng the triple skills gauntlet. And this particular gauntlet is based on 3. It's a very generic thing. It's based on transversal, generic, and occupational skills. There's a value that we are proposing, Premier. The value is very simple. We're saying that we will provide stipended opportunities in Gauteng to provide technical, professional, and occupational skills. But colleagues, technical, professional, and occupational skills must be undergirded, must be anchored on values, must be anchored on ethics. So when we derived this particular skills list, right, we said that one of the things that we must ensure is that as we train for the hard technical skills, we must also imbue people that are on our training programs with values, with ethics. So essentially what that means is that before any young person is provided a skills or stipended opportunity, we require them to also put skin in the game, in a way of saying. We require them to be inducted for at least 3 months, right, where we will induct and orientate them in terms of how to handle themselves from a personal perspective, how to handle themselves from a leadership and management perspective, and also how to handle themselves as a Gauteng citizen, as a person who is a member of society. This is how we have actually made sure that we have designed a critical skills list that we'll train for in Gauteng, but we are looking to provide value-driven, skilled people, a capable, skilled, and ethical workforce. This is why then, if you look at the next kind of like slide there, we have a digital passport, a green passport. The third one speaks to the industrial and occupational skills. That's where you'll be an electrician. That's where you'll be a chartered accountant. But as a chartered accountant, we're saying, do you recycle as a human being? Do you think about the people around yourself, around your community? Are you a person in your community that can be relied on for conflict resolution? Are you a resource of social capital for that community, even above and beyond being a chartered accountant, a doctor, or a sociologist like myself? So that particular skills passport says, if you work in Gauteng, we are expecting that you're going to have a particular posture as a Gautenger. As a trained, skilled Gautenger, we are expecting that you're a person that is going to communicate, be involved in your community, recycle, as I've said, and also just have those kinds of like ethical behaviors and skills. We're moving beyond a place where we valorize or are technically biased towards a person being just a chartered accountant, right? And so that's what we're saying in terms of the Gauteng Master Skills Plan. The second goal is not something that is particularly novel. It's not novel because it's something that we've done. It is necessary because of the rising unemployment rate amongst young people. It's necessary for us as the Gauteng provincial government to consolidate our public employment models. Consolidating our public employment models is something that is imperative for us to stabilize, at the very least, the rising rate of youth needs and the rising rate of youth unemployment. So we're then saying that we want to consolidate all public employment programs that are taking place in the province. A large segment of them are sitting in the infrastructure, kind of like cohort departments, and some of them are also sitting in the social cluster. We're saying that we need to streamline them. They need to have standards of effective practice. What do those standards of effective practice look like? They start with the skills gauntlet, a value-based, value-driven skills development, but they also are anchored by what is happening in the province in terms of providing the infrastructure that we need. So the infrastructure that we deliver, that we spend on in the next 5 years, is in fact the kind of like project that's going to help us to give people the skills that they need to participate in the economy. Essentially, this particular goal is one that animates young people as well, because we're saying that we're going to design public employment programs with them. We've taken the norma called For Us, By Us, right, where we're going to give young people that have participated historically in our Nasisbani Tsepo 1 Million and various other projects to come in and help us to design and stabilize a very high impact kind of like model that they will then participate in and kind of like network in their own communities. This backbone is critical for us because it's a conversation that we're going to be able to have with young people themselves. And they are the ones also that will give us the kind of innovation and ideas that we need. When we were designing this particular Master Skills Plan, I mean, it's been exciting. The skills, you know, the learnings that have come out of this are extremely exciting. When we contracted for it, we were given a young company of designers, 2 young black men, that said that they would do this with high quality and with utter speed. The learnings in that room itself, when we were working with those designers, was quite interesting. You'll see there that we have an AI-generated image. What they told us is that when you have AI-generated images, you can do it on your computer, but the templates they're printing are not yet ready to take this kind of thing so that it's like very, very visual. Immediately in that moment, we know that that is a corner aside in which we can promote the design innovation of the production of printing templates that are able to give you a very high density, very clear, non-pixelated kind of like picture here. That in itself is innovation waiting to be discovered. I'm going to move to the third goal. The third goal is the SkillX. The SkillX is a simple word, Premier. It combines a skills and a clinic. Simple, SkillX. What we're saying is that because our infrastructure, higher education and training, has not expanded at the particular rate that it's supposed to, we're having young people that are sitting outside of that system. They can't get a student card, so they can't get into training. They can't get a student card, so they can't upskill. They can't get a student card, so they can't RPL. Because the system, of course, has its own bureaucracy and rules. At a provincial level in Gauteng, we're saying that we're going to expand, at the very least, the 13 priority trades that have been stated by DHET, the Department of Higher Education and Training. So artisans in the spheres of boiler making, plumbing, electricity, and so forth. Those are the people that we're going to actually create the workshops across the 5 corridors. If you remember, if you bring to mind the geography that MEC actually showed, and she showed the kind of like historical and current capabilities of the different corridors, on the basis of that, we're going to build those SkillX hubs. So for example, if it is that they say in Ekurhuleni, there's machining, design, innovation as a capability, an economic capability in that area, then we're saying that it must then be linked and twinned with fabrication, for example. And you'll see in the next goal what that actually looks like, because we actually have a goal that then speaks to how we activate the different historical capabilities of the Gauteng City region economy. The SkillX hubs are very important. A typical, just clear storyline or idea of what a SkillX looks like. If you have an underemployed black young woman who works perhaps as a maid, but has an interest in doing hair, nails, and aesthetic, the pink industry, which is quite huge, right? A SkillX hub is a hub that they would go to after work to, at their own pace, gain those particular skill set, learn how to do hair, learn how to do their hair, the nails, and so forth. But if they are there during the day, that young person might actually already have children. They might already be a mother. They might already be a wife. So what are we saying? We're saying that we're going to also provide early childhood development centers in those SkillX hubs. Those early childhood development centers are going to be anchored on one idea, a Pan-African pedagogical curriculum that combines at least 4 elements: logic, philosophy, music, and and language. When we look at history and we look at research, research tells us that these 4 components are critical for creating STEM-ready, cognitively minded people. And this is why we're saying that while we're looking at youth and adult needs in Gauteng, we're also going to support a new generation of well-skilled young people. What's really exciting about this is that we're going to imbue it with our indigenous knowledge systems. What does that look like? It looks like Diketo. It looks like Bati. It looks like Mkusha. You know, the play that actually grew us up, gave us the skills that we have, is the same kind of like knowledge system that we're going to imbue in those kinds of like early childhood development centers, DG. Without belaboring the point, let me go to the 4th goal. This is called the Gauteng City Region EdSim, Education Simulator Manufacturing Cluster. And it is based on a single premise: skills development, in fact, education as a whole, is a spending sector. There's a lot of money that goes into skills, but that spending is transversely shared with other different economic sectors. But in Gauteng, if we decide, like the Gauteng Master Skills Plan is calling for, to take that horizontal action and actually make it vertical and create a particular specialization in Gauteng of a subsector that is new, that is geared towards the production, manufacturing of machinery that is used to teach, to skill, That kind of like capability actually sits in those different nodes that MEC already showed you. It is sitting in the West Rand, it's sitting in the city center where there are manufacturing plants that used to be here, and it's also definitely sitting in Ekurhuleni. Ekurhuleni has the functionality and capability of building machines that build machines. And it is those machines that build and help us to teach young people, to teach in the education system, to teach at universities and universities of technology. That's the capability that we're looking to specialize in. So the young people that would come through that PEP, that public employment program, that got that stipended opportunity to be an electrician, is the same young person that will end up in an EdSim kind of like plant, designing, innovating, and thinking through how to teach with machinery, how to teach with simulators. So the last kind of like goals, the two last goals, are essentially pillars. They anchor and undergird the entire plan. Those three ones, the critical skills list that I spoke to in the beginning, the second one, which is our public employment program, and the third one being this EdSim manufacturing cluster. The two last goals, the dynamic capabilities for the public sector and the public sector in terms of partnerships and funding, you'll see the next one, are actually the things that are enablers of this particular plan. While we are building a capable, ethical, and developmental state, we will also be learning to be capable, developmental, and ethical in our posture. What we're going to do in the Gauteng Office of the Premier is to create a floor where we put simulators that run on data from Stats South Africa, data from the GCRO, data from Professor Vice Chancellor of UNISA that she spoke about, where we're going to use simulators and data to drive our decisions, to create multiple scenarios, real-time scenarios on the basis of what we know, to make particular decisions on how we spend, where we start, and how we do things. That's the dynamic capabilities of the public sector. So what that means is that while we're thinking about and designing a simulator or extracting simulators, we'll go, for example, HOD Mutlacho from Department of Economic Development and reap the lessons that TASES actually has. Because TASES is a forerunner in terms of creating simulators and 4IR labs. We'll go gain that knowledge and then create a public sector simulator located inside the Gauteng Office of the Premier. It is an offering to the public sector in terms of just thinking, designing, and working through the challenges that we face. And so it is that we land on the last goal. The last goal says that we're going to apply the policy architecture in South Africa to make sure that this plan works. When Dr. Mashinini was speaking to the architecture of the GHRDC, the DG spoke to the architecture of the whole of the GPG system. MEC Vuyisa spoke to the economy, and now we're speaking to skills. What we're essentially saying is that we'll apply the policy architecture to extract the resources, whether human, technical, or financial, to actually make sure that this plan gains legs and moves on. The implementation plan, quite ambitious, right? Quite a bit of work has been done, and when we say that this is a homegrown plan, we are really quite happy to be saying that, because it has benefited, one, from the work that DG Musuwe and HOD Mukana used to do when they wrote the Master Skills Plan 1 and Master Skills Plan 2. The Master Skills Plan 1 and Master Skills Plan 2 then informed the HRDC at National, which is why we have that orange book, Master Skills Plan in 2025 now. It's knowledge in action, sharing our history. So what we're then saying is that on that basis, we're going to make sure that we use the partners and what exists inside the system to make sure that we lay the foundation, we reach scale, and we consolidate. I think the important note to say is that a lot of what has been said is probably not being said for the first time, but the combination of how we're saying it and the combination of where we're starting and how we're moving together is in fact what's going to help us to realize the goals that we're looking to realize. DG, we have a theory of change, and on this point, I'm going to say one last point. We spoke about the Gauteng 13 polycrisis. But when you look at the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations, you're going to realize that if we were to achieve the G13 polycrisis, to tackle it successfully and deal with it, right, we would at a macro level, at a global level, as South Africa, have actually achieved at least 10 of the sustainable goals that the UN has actually put in front of us. That is a powerful statement, and with that, I thank you.
Well done. She even curtsies for me. You see, I'm a king. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Amuzweni Ngoma. You can see the intellectual rigor that has gone into this thinking. And it is, DM, did you see the second last slide that she put? It is a slide that talks about pooling resources together. And I'm so happy that you came here today. Because part of what those resources are, they are at the national sphere of government, and the DHET is a leader in there. So I'm so grateful. But before that, before I call you DM, you know, Premier, when she speaks of a skillings, think about MEC Ramokupa. Last week, you and the Premier, or 2 weeks ago, you launched the AIDC, automotive manufacturing hub here in Roslyn. That's a skillings. So we already have a lot of skillings campuses across the province, but we want to expand them. What a skillings suggests in simple terms is that we don't want young people to be traveling long distances to go and find a training opportunity. A training opportunity must be created in their local area of abode. And it is in that context that Gauteng would move and ensure that through our geographic spread, we are able to get there. So I want to thank the Dr. Ngoma for that. Now, DM, because I said the second last slide was speaking directly to you on the master plan. Ladies and gentlemen, can we put our hands together to welcome to the podium to address us the Deputy Minister for Higher Education and Training, Deputy Minister Nomusa Dube-Ncube, our Deputy Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much, DG and Honorable Premier Lesufi, members of the Executive Council of Gauteng, Prof. Lekabula, council members of the Gauteng Provincial Human Resource Development Council, members of the National GHRDC, executive that are present, leadership and the Secretariat of the Human Resource Development Council for South Africa, leaders of organized business, organized labor, civil society, leadership of the University of South Africa, and UNISA family that is hosting us here today, principals and vice chancellors from various institutions, municipalities, senior management of Gauteng government, all leadership of universities, CET colleges, TVET colleges, SAQUA management that is present, CETAs, all of you ladies and gentlemen and members of the media, is it still a good day? I bring you warm greetings from the Department of Higher Education and Training on behalf of Minister Manamela and the whole ministry. It is a particular honor for us to share this platform with you, Honorable Premier, as we mark a milestone in the life of our Gauteng Human Resource Development Council. When our chairperson, the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, addressed the first council meeting of the 7th administration on the 5th of November, 2024, he charged every remaining province to establish its council before this administration's work is done. Today, the charge is fulfilled, Honorable Premier. As we say in isiZulu, isinamuva liyabuko. The one who arrived last is also celebrated. And every single province in South Africa now has got established Provincial Human Resource Development Council, and Gauteng, the economic heartbeat of our country, completes that map. And we're very grateful, Premier, to have had presentations of how you have localized your HRDC plan. The launch builds directly in the 5th HRDC Summit held here in Gauteng this April under the theme, Living and Working and Changing the World. There, the Deputy President launched the reconceptualized Human Resource Development Strategy 2025 to 2035 and the new Master Skills Plan on our social partners, refreshed from 2021 Social Compact through the new Summit Declaration. The strategy sharpened our focus onto 4 goals and 12 interventions across pillars, and some of those have been articulated very importantly in the speeches that we've held, which is schooling, particularly early foundation and reading and meaning for our young people, youth development, particularly workplace experience, experiential learning, green economy, artificial intelligence, digital economies, and building of a capable ethical state. Provincial councils are now have touched down in the classrooms, workplaces, and training centers in the lived experience of our young persons, deciding where in this country the future holds, where they are staying again. Program Director, I choose to speak particularly about the hope, not as a naive hope, but because of the confidence that we have, having watched business leaders, trade unions, vice chancellors, TVET principals, civic society choose province by province to sit in the same table and commit to the same goals. That is what makes things possible for our young people, for our community members in Soweto, in Thembisa, in Diepsloot, in Mamelodi, and all around our Gauteng province, to see a credible pathway, not a promise, but a pathway from school through training into decent work. I'm glad to hear that skills development has also been localized to look at areas of economic growth, Premier, because it is what as the department we've really been focusing on with modernization of our curriculum. We look at each province and say, what are the strengths of this province? Province Eastern Cape, what are the strengths? Automotive industry, green economy, agriculture, and so on and so on. And we then say, what are the skills that are needed then for this economy to grow? And I think this is what we are seeing here in Gauteng. Premier, so much of our country's economic future runs through this province, particularly its decisions on artisan development, digital and green economy skills, and how it absorbs the young people who arrive here from every other province in search of opportunities. We are modernizing our curriculum as the Department of Higher Education and Training, particularly the TVET curriculum, to ensure that its occupational trade skills. We are doing away, Premier, I know some other colleges are still left behind. We are doing away with the likes of public administration and TVET colleges. We're saying TVET colleges are not places for public admin. They are places for artisanship, for occupational trades. Those that want admin, they can go to UNISA and other places where they can get those kind of qualifications. We are building new universities of specialization, mining universities, transport universities, textile universities, and universities that will really talk to the economy and our industrial strategy of the country. We are very excited to start working with your technical schools here in Gauteng Premier, so as to build that pipeline and easy transition from the basic education, particularly focusing on STEAM, working with the basic education department. Career alignment, because every time we hear the matric results, Premier, basic education saying so many children have passed with diplomas or with entry to universities. To us, it's something that is just disjointed, because it doesn't talk to what the students find at universities. But our business also, we are focusing on SZ Premier, and I'm glad to hear about those hubs that you are building. We have been meeting with various SZ with a view of having sure that at least within every SZ there is a training, a college, or there's a college which really works in terms of ensuring that that pipeline of skills that are needed by those SZ are generated within there. But also we're looking at models like in other countries where within the TVET colleges, companies are based there in the TVET colleges, so that that dynamic interaction, research capabilities, and everything that needs to be done talks directly to our industries. And we are very excited to hear that it's exactly what Gauteng government has been working on and what is coming out from these presentations. So our business leaders, we want our business leaders and our communities to tell us honestly what are the skills that are needed in the workplaces, in the industries. Work with us to create the skills in our classroom. We want to see industries coming to lecture in our universities, in our TVET colleges. We want to see you engaging our teachers and our students about the life in the workplace. To the organized labor, keep us honest about the dignity of the decent work, but let's revive ethical, efficient, and effective workforce. To our universities and TVET colleges and CET colleges, CETAs, keep those doors wide open. We are concerned about the lives of your students because in many instances, TVET colleges, universities, once the children or students have moved out of those colleges, nobody knows where they are. We are saying to universities, you must be concerned about the life of your students. Where are they? Are the skills that you imparted on them useful for them in their economy? Are they able to be absorbed in the workplaces? And we want to make sure that those skills that are given to the young people are skills that the industry need, but also talk to today's realities of artificial intelligence age. To the civic society, we want them to hold us accountable. We want our communities to hold us accountable furthest from opportunities and to young people of this province and the country. This council exists so that you have a seat in the voice and the pathway. So today, the map is complete, Premier, with your launch of your HRDC. That completion is not an end point. It is a beginning. And I'm confident that Provincial Human Resource Development Council will not simply meet standards set by those that launched before it. And I'm glad to see that indeed, in fact, you have taken it a step further, but also you have raised the bar and make the people know that the sky is not the limit. When they are armed with correct skills for the country's industrial strategy and our economy, the growth development plan, and our countries and the world of work that revolves around every minute, because the world of work is changing every minute. As we are sitting here, new things are happening. So we need to make sure that we are up to date with those changes that are happening within the industry and around the world. So Premier and your HRDC, we wish you all the best in the work of this Human Resource Development Council, and we are going to be working with you to realize all the expectations of our communities, but all the areas that you've identified as areas of priority to make sure that we have the right skills in the right place. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, DM, for your words of encouragement, words of support. Indeed, there is alignment, and I like that phrase you said in Zulu, but I tried to go and find what do the Afrikaners say and what do the English people say. Afrikaners say, Premier, og die laatste oskom ook en die kraal. Am I told the last oskom ok and the kraal, am I right? Walk. Yeah, even the last oxen comes into the kraal. But the English, to put it better, save the best for last. Can we get the best premier to come and give a keynote address? Ladies and gentlemen, Premier Lesufi.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. Thanks so much, Program Director. Mr. Edward Musuwe. I was the only one that was fortunate enough to have an HOD in the Department of Education where the head of the department is Musuwe in the Department of Education. So, thank you so much. The entire leadership of UNISA, I know Professor Dube-Ncube has left, but the entire leadership is still here. Thank you so much, Deputy Minister Nomusa Dube-Ncube. You captured the essence of what we want and the partnership that we want to build with you. So I want to thank you and appreciate the input and your presence as well. All the MECs that are here, my apologies, MECs, I know we need to rush somewhere, but thank you so much for being here. I want to appreciate the presence of business leadership, all of you. We really appreciate the leadership of Labour. I saw the chair of COSATU and the leadership of Civic Movement, the provincial chair as well. We also have the leadership of higher education institutions in our province. I want to thank all of them for being here and joining us here. The National Human Resource Development Council members, we're going to make an announcement about the support that we want you to give us, and I want to thank you for accepting not only nomination, but the willingness to work with us. I've noted members of the Gauteng AIDS Council, as well as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Support Unit that is here, and other stakeholders and honored guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I dream about a hospital in Gauteng where we utilize artificial intelligence to execute surgeries. Taking advantage of artificial intelligence, the precision is spot on, and the queue of those that are waiting for surgeries is eliminated. I dream about a speed train that moves from here to Limpopo in 67 minutes, and that train is driven by a young lady from Mamelodi or Thembisa. I dream about a school where every learner has a tablet, a teacher has a laptop, and a classroom has a smart board. I dream about a satellite-based CCTV that can capture the essence of our province so that every crime that is committed can be captured and every criminal can be traced. I dream about a highway that can link our major cities with ease without traffic jam and delays. I dream about a society where everyone's potential can be realized and everyone's needs can be met. I dream about townships that are no longer RDP houses or four-roomed matchboxes, but they are houses that can be built with machinery overnight and leave the past of apartheid and have a new form of housing in our society. I dream about a Gauteng with no informal settlement, where women can walk freely and children cannot be intimidated, but they can have their potential realized. Dreams, dreams, dreams. If you have a dream without action, that will remain a dream. Today we have invited you to convert dreams into reality. We have invited you to share with us the path that you want to execute, the path of prosperity, the path of success, and the path that will ensure that our society is not reminded about the past, but it embraces the future. Today we've invited you to implement what we have prioritized as government. With national government, there are three priorities that we embraced: to grow the economy of our country, to eliminate the cost of living and to protect the weak and the vulnerable, but most importantly, to build the capacity of the state. It is out of these three priorities that today we presented to you the economic strategy of our province, the economic plan of our province that we call the Gauteng City Region Economic Growth and Development Plan. Today, we presented to you that for us to reach that economic hope, we have to have a master skills that will produce the skills of the future. We presented to you how we want to harness these skills, support them, but most importantly, identify them so that they can be skills of a Gauteng that can remain competitive and above all other provinces. I come to you to launch a council that will harness these dreams. I come to you to launch a council that will convert these master plans and economic plans into reality. And this council is not only a human development capability or an engine room, it's expanding people's choices. It's making it easy for our children to say there is a future in this province. It's making it easy for those that criticize without options to shut up and look at what we're intending to build. We've invited you to be on the path of development. We've invited you to form of partnership. We've invited you to hold hands with us as government, to say we can't execute this task alone. We need business, we need labor, we need civil society, we need the academic sector, but most importantly, we need ordinary South Africans to understand where we are taking this province to. I'm proud, therefore, to stand in front of you as we mark the launch of the Human Development Council, a significant milestone in our shared commitment to improving the lives of people and shaping a future that is inclusive, equitable, and sustainable. History teaches us that nations that prosper is nations that invest in their people. History teaches us that if you can't get the skills right, we'll not get the country right. If you can't get the skills right, we'll not get the economy right. You might have ambitions to eliminate unemployment, but when jobs are created and the skills are not there, unemployment will be permanent. We are choosing the other part of building the skills, building capabilities, and converting our schools to be the pipeline of future schools. The launch of almost 34 schools of specialization in our province is an investment that must not be undermined. We've entered a stage where the name of a school, if it ends with a high school or war school or high school or lower primary school, you know we're in the past. But if a school says we are a school of specialization in aviation, school of specialization in maritime studies, School of Specialization in Business Development, schools of specialization in engineering. You must know that's the future, and that school is nowhere else. It is in Gauteng. This is the path we want to take. This is the path we want to embrace, because today, it's more than establishment of another institution. It's the beginning of a renewed partnership that places people at the center of development. It's a declaration that the true wealth of any nation lies not only in natural resources or economic output, but in the health, education, skills, dignity, and opportunities of its people. I want to thank you for choosing to be part of us. I want to embrace you for agreeing that we can't walk this path alone. I want to appreciate you for a bold statement that you are making today, that all of us should be proud of that bold statement. One country, one strategy, one plan. Let's grow Gauteng together. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. I told you, save the best for last. And the best has done what the best can only do. At this point in time, members of council, we want to formally acknowledge you. And I've asked for the permission of the Premier that we invite each of you to receive your appointment letter with the Premier, from the Premier rather. And I'm going to request that as I call your name, would you please come and receive that letter of appointment that designates you a member of the council, the GHRDC of Gauteng. I have the following names to call. I did not say Ms. Tuto Mashila, Mr. Pule Mashele. I do know that some members of council have apologized, and I would want to call those Mr. David Mabusela. Are all these Mr. David Mabusela? Ms. Nomathemba Kwefani. There she comes, Premier. If you could, please. Ms. Mandisa Machila. Mandisa? Yeah. Oh, I know that other members have also sent, just in case you think she's Mandisa, no. He represents Mandisa, please. Ms. Azaya Shabalala, Mr. Azaya Shabalala, Mr. Azaya Shabalala, Ms. Jennifer Latifi, Mr. Zamo Wake Kuzwayo, or the representative. Just in case you might think that she is Mr. Zamogwake, she represents him. Mr. Harry Lai Y, a representative is here as well. Miss, please go to the. Miss Tumelo Zwane. Miss Tumelo Zwane. Okay, mister. No, it's not. So please, with due apology, he's the right man, the right name, the wrong gender. Hey, let me stop calling Bo Miss, Mister, just in case these other ones. Nameto Uacheng. Nameto Uacheng. Do you see? I was gonna call. Ms. Humang Mashimbye. At least I can say Raymond is a Mr. Mr. Raymond Kabinde. Mr. Eugene Maluleke. Mr. Amos Vusi Munyela. I wanted that name, Vusi. Mr. Letrohonolo Dikhashu. Oh, Letrohonolo is that one? Ms. Dora Moloi, I know she apologized. Jose Kutsie, but Shashi can come and take. Miss Karen Surens. Karen? Miss Bernadette Zila. Zila. Miss Mabatu Muchekwane. Mabatu. Miss Louisa Mudikwe. Oh, okay. Mr. Godfrey Selematsela. Godfrey? Oh, there he comes. Mr. Mabuza Ngubani. Vuyo Letu Sibiya, His Royal Highness. Vuyo. Mizuki Sagnunyani. Zuki Swa. No. Wesley Jacobs, Mr. Wesley Jacobs. I saw him earlier on. Mr. Mustak Ali. Mustak? No. Dr. Feling Yende. Did I see her? No. Dr. China Mashinini, the one and only GCRA acting CEO. Dr. Mashinini. Mr. M.I. Mabi. Mr. Mabi? No. Mr. Asanda Lua? Miss? What did I say? Miss Asanda Luwata? Asanda? Please come. What did I say? Asanda?
It's fine, you changed my gender.
We messed it up today.
Okhudiseng Sinye?
Thank you so much, sir.
Okhudiseng? No. Miss Mapefo Ano Frankpong? Transport Center.
Oh,
Mr. Abram Mashishi?
thank you so much.
Bari. Miss Miss Meshia Colbert. Meshia Colbert? No. Tebogo Kekana? Oh, it's Meshia here. Mr. Bafana Msiza. Bafana Msiza? No. Sandile Mtiani. Thank you, Sandy. Bahumi Matebesi. Bahumi. Eric Ledwaba. Eric Nasalgao. Makomu Umlau. You know, English people will say umlaw. Mr. Kolani Kubeka. Kolani.
Our ex.
Miss Sipogazi Simandla. Sipogazi. And there are two, Mr. Elvis Mukwena. Save the best for last. I know there are one or two that we forgot to print, but Premier, MECs, ladies and gentlemen, the HRD Council of the Province of Gauteng. Can we put our hands together? Now, we need to have a beautiful picture. Those that know picture protocol, can you help us, sort us out? Can I suggest that we put chairs?
Tell them. Tell them.
Can you come close so that you come close? Come close.
I know.
We can sit here.
We need everybody to be in the picture.
Chairs, or we can sit here.
Just do this.
Where's the official camera?
Yeah, we must just do it here. Because I got the premiers, they have different time frame. I'm going to read, continue.
Okay, I think we've got it.
Mrs., can I ask that you do, I think we need a better, this was like a Majimbo's picture. I need a one, if MECs and Premier or other members of council can sit on the, and yeah. Premier in the Executive Council, please.
Okay.
Sky close. Which camera must they look at? Who's the official photographer? It's an important statement. Going once. Going twice, going thrice. I will count after 5, we are done. Going 4 times, Number 5, can I conclude? Done? Thank you very much, Premier. Thank you very much, MECs, members of council. MEC Tasnim. That's a Premier event.
But I think if we don't dream, we don't dare. And we must dare, especially as Gauteng. But thank you very much. Your speech gave me goosebumps today. I want to thank the VC of UNISA, as well as the management who are present here. Thank you so much, Prof, to you and your team, coming on board and really being a partner to the Gauteng provincial government. HOD, or let me first also thank my colleagues in the Executive Council, all MECs who are present, and those in absentia. Thank you very much for being part of this launch, a very important launch, just to demonstrate that we've not only thought of the future, but we're also planning for it as well and executing it. To DG, your colleagues, the HODs, thank you to all the HODs who are here, and we will be making sure that through the HODs, the work of the council is also experienced and expressed in the work that we do as government. Congratulations to the council members. Thank you very much for accepting this responsibility. It's not an easy one. There are huge expectations on Gauteng. Anything that comes from Gauteng, you said it, we save the best for last. So what we do, we are trailblazers and trendsetters, and the rest will also be able to learn from what we are doing. To our members of the media, the Fourth Estate, thank you so much for being part of this program. I see SABC News, and I hope we'll get good coverage just to be able to expand and extend the work that we have now launched in this room out to communities and the residents of Gauteng that it matters most for. And to all our invited guests that I may not have mentioned in a particular category, your presence is as important as your support to the ongoing work, and it just demonstrates that you are part of this province, you have an interest in this province, and you are going to work together with us so that we all create the vision of Panyaza, the big dreamer. Thank you very much.
MEC Tasnim Ramokhopa is the chairperson of the Economic Subcommittee of Expo. Mutara. What did I say?